Can I tell you I'm scared? Can I tell you where I'm insecure? Can I fail in front of you and still trust you tomorrow? Most people never ask that question on purpose. They find out by accident, mid-argument, when the thing they confided gets thrown back across the room. This episode starts with a different question. Not, does he love me? What did I actually ask for? And did I ever say it out loud? Two pieces, one underneath the other. This isn't therapy. It's a reckoning. For the men who've been lied to about love, and the women who sold safety instead of truth. We say the things you're not supposed to say out loud. I'm Author. This is Cuff. Every week, we go deeper. Welcome, episode 39. Two pieces this week. The first opens a new series, The Architecture of Intimacy. The idea is simple. The things you've wanted from someone were never random asks. Closeness, presence, being chosen. That's not neediness. That's a floor plan. Most people never named it. The second piece is the first room in that plan. Safety. Because the closer someone gets to you, the more precisely they can hurt you. They learn the fear, the insecurity, the thing you secretly worry is true about you. Safety was never pretending they don't have that. It's trusting them not to use it. Two musings, 20 minutes. Let's get into it. First up, musing number 129, which is the blueprint piece for the architecture of intimacy. Head on the show notes, click through, read it, because it's going to help you with what we're about to get into. So, where do we start? Let's start high level in terms of how we got here. We started with the architecture of control, which was external, what somebody was doing to you. Then we moved to the architecture of trust, which is external plus you internally. We then went to architecture of self, which moved internally. Now, with the architecture of intimacy, we are moving from both an internal state and an external state. And I have to admit, after working on this series now before it launched, I would say I have about a month into writing, generating ideas, the components, everything. I can't believe how basic of a notion of intimacy I had. I wrote about it in the musing, but I'll just touch on it because we'll build from there for the rest of this segment. I thought it was telling people about yourself, like letting them in, and then physical intimacy. And that was it. And given that I believe that, when someone did bring up that intimacy for them has compartments that are more important or more load-bearing than other parts, and I bring up the example of a beautiful Russian-American woman I was dating. She literally told me, in the midst of us trying to figure out if there was any type of future for us. It was long distance and it wasn't working for me, but different day, different story. Anyway, and I'll never forget that conversation. She told me, she literally flat out said, I I can't really develop anything major or not be confused until I feel safe and stable. And at the time, this is literally what I thought at the time. I'm just going to say it, even though now it makes me cringe and it's so embarrassing. I remember thinking to myself, maybe this is because she grew up in Russia and it's been very unstable. You know, she lost her father in one of the previous wars, etc. So, of course, for her, those would be very important because of where she came from, what she's experienced, whatever. Because of the fact that I viewed intimacy as something with essentially two components, I wasn't able to see that she was attempting to tell me what was most important for intimacy with her, but she was trying to expand my understanding of intimacy. But again, I had such a basic, primitive idea of what intimacy really was. I couldn't read the blueprint she handed me. And that wasn't wrong. At the time, I just hadn't done the work. I wasn't where I'm at now. But looking back, I can't begin to express how appreciative I am to her, for her, just saying that at the time, even though I didn't get it. Now I did it. And that was really a kind of a light bulb going off in my head when I had replayed this moment, and finally I connected the dots. Had she never said it to me at the time, I don't know how or when I would have connected the dots. And that's why this arc is so important for myself. And to be honest with you, I've been so excited to get into this because, like we'll talk about in the next piece with my marriage failing and so forth, I never had words to what I experienced and what I felt at the time until we did all of the work up until today when we're launching the architecture of intimacy. I don't think we could be here where we're all at collectively had we not gone through the architecture of control, architecture of trust, and architecture of self. If you haven't read those, I'm going to link to the starting piece in those. I highly suggest you read these and put the work in, because I'm going to tell you from my personal perspective between how my pattern literacy, or how well I can identify patterns, even when I'm in the midst of the emotional fog. Even when I'm standing inside of it, I'm able to see the pattern that is happening to me or is happening around me. And again, I don't think I would be here, we would be here, if we hadn't done those series before this, because it really laid the foundation to open intimacy up and really explore this and put words to a lot of the things we have felt and experienced, but we haven't had the words for, hopefully, until now. With that said, since Musing 129 was a blueprint piece, I want to jump to 130, because this is where we really start getting into the meat of this. So, Musing 130 is, let me give you the title. It'll be posted below in the show notes. So go down there and click on it. And my apologies, I have to pull this off. You don't know what safety means to a man. What's funny about this title is, like, once you read the piece, it's not what a lot of people probably think it is, but I figured this would be a great, catchy title that would grab the person, and because it immediately makes you feel one way or another before you even read it. Anyway, this piece, this musing, is and was a tremendously important piece for me to write, to be honest, just to be put it out there. And I haven't really, up until this point, explored where my marriage failed and where it ended. It wasn't sudden. It would just feels like it slid and slid and slid, and before you know it, you're just entirely far apart. And in my quest for further self-enlightenment in personal growth, have been autopsying my behavior in the marriage and my emotions and feelings as things really broke down. And why this is important is because I have identified safety as one of the primary reasons of why my marriage ultimately failed. And let me explain. I have historically had a hard time opening up, being vulnerable. And I don't think it makes me special. Unfortunately, I think a lot of men have had to deal with this, because for men, weakness or emotions, or it's hard to separate them, but men sniff out weakness. And if you're considered soft, men are going to make, or could make, your life very difficult. And so that forces men to be highly, highly selective in who we let into our weird little worlds. The trust has to be huge, just out of this world, for vulnerability to even be a threshold a man will consider crossing with a woman. And in my marriage, I did cross that threshold. But when I crossed that threshold, I quickly learned that when my ex-wife didn't get her way, or was upset, angry, whatever it might be, those very personal and private things that I confided in her about were thrown in my face and weaponized. And if this has ever happened to you, I'm sure you are going to agree with something I'm going to say next. There is a very special kind of hurt that comes along with that. The person who supposedly cares about you, the person who supposedly loves you, decides to hurt you in a way that only they know how. And we're supposed to believe that's them caring and showing love for us. And so what happens? I'll tell you exactly what happens. You don't start disclosing things anymore. Every time the temperature starts to rise and the other person seems like they're about to flip off the handle, you brace yourself. I wonder what they're going to come at me with today. What are they going to go for today? Childhood trauma, body issues, avoidance issues, heck. And this is what we brace for. Because even if we brace for it, that may make it hurt a slight bit less, but it still hurts. And you still ask yourself every time, if this person loves me, why do they speak to me like this? And I asked her numerous times, multiple times, you supposedly love me, why do you speak to me like this? Like, why do you say such hurtful things? Such personal, pointed attacks. Why? And this is where it goes from just being hurtful to just absurd. Her answer was, you get me so mad. Now, it's a great reason. You hurt me, so that's my fault. Got it. So now I hurt myself. By disclosing things that hurt and having them weaponized against me, because you think, how could I be so stupid to tell this person this? And then you're shamed, you're guilted. Well, you triggered me. That's why I did it. They're justifying using your vulnerabilities as weapons. That's literally what happened. And I could never come back from it. I just couldn't, no matter how much I would try to make it seem like, oh, it only happened these couple of times. She didn't mean it. She was angry. I couldn't get there. I couldn't. Because the thing about it, the thing was, is I never resorted to that type of behavior. And that's what made it hurt that much more, was I fully knew that I could have gone there, matching what she was doing to me, and I still refused to do it. That type of intimacy and vulnerability to me is sacred. Absolutely sacred. You have to, when somebody gives you that, you have to handle that with such gentleness because of the damage it could do. And yes, we all get angry. Call the person some general term. I would have been fine if she would have called me a dick or an asshole. I could live with those. But taking insecurities and just going for my jugular, that, I don't deserve that. You don't deserve that. We don't deserve that. And we're not gonna tolerate it. As far as I'm concerned, this seems like one of those emotional areas where there should be like zero tolerance. Because if I feel like if the person's willing to do it once, they'll do it again. And I'm sure if you give them a long enough timeline, they'll prove you're right. And then maybe the first time it's like, if you ever do that again, I'm gone. Because this is you're destroying intimacy and trust, and I can't be vulnerable with you. I can't speak to you because I can't trust opening up to you. At that point, what is left of the relationship? And I'm not putting up with it again. And if you do it again, I'm out. Maybe that's how we handle it. Seems fair. But we're not doing it anymore. All right, that's it for this week. I hope everyone has a great weekend. Hold the standards, stay close.